let's talk about reading comprehension. Now, one thing that we know from both practice and from research is that when kids have a chance to study and get engaged in the reading material before they actually start reading it, then their levels of comprehension are going to go up. So let's take a look at 3 quick ways that AI can help us with those pre-reading tasks that will lead to comprehension. We're going to do 3 prompts here. The first one is to look at vocabulary before we ever get to the vocabulary, before we get to the reading. So here's the first one. 6th grade students, here's our prompt, studying chapter 1 of Hatchet, and we're going to ask the AI to assist us with some tasks. The first is to identify a series of vocabulary words and let the students have a chance to learn about the words, use them, see how they're applied before they actually find them in text. So we're going to pull out 10 words and we're going to create a cloze test for the students to practice putting the words into place. And let's take a look at this. Let's copy it all and drop it into our AI. So there is the full prompt, and then what we're going to do is drop in the text. Now, a lot of text, ChatGPT or the other AIs already know, but just in case it doesn't, I happen to have a copy of the text for chapter 1, which I will then drop into my prompt right here. Okay, so we're asking for 10 vocabulary words with definitions and a cloze test, and you will notice that for the cloze test I actually provided a sample of what it would look like with the blank in place and the rest of the sentence. Okay, let's see what AI can do with this. Research tells us that studying the words before we encounter them is a great way to begin improving vocabulary, and it specifically leads to comprehension because kids will have a better understanding of what the text means. So what do we have? So I dropped it all in, and I said go, and here we go. Appropriate for 6th grade language arts. So there are vocabulary terms and a little definition in alphabetical order. What we should have next is, yes, we've got our cloze test for the students to practice using those words. So that is number 1. Now, number 2, to follow up on that, we are going to create a resource for students to help them to begin to organize and understand what happens in the text. For this, we're going to ask the AI to create a detailed outline in 2-column format. One column is going to have the outline, item by item, and the second column is a place for the students to mark off whether or not they have found it in text. Now, what we could do is, here we've got yes or no, they have found it in the text. We could also put in instead the page number where the text has been found, so the students would fill that out. So let's see if this will give us what we need. And at the top of it, book title, chapter, and a place for the student's name. Now I'm going to do this in the same discussion thread because it's going to refer back to the text above, obviously. So let's drop it in there, and let's have the AI create this resource for us so the students can start making sense of the content and start looking for specific points within the plot of that particular chapter. For some reason, it's given this to me as HTML code, which is not what I want. So let's say, display this table, do not use HTML. And let's see if this will actually give us a nice item that we can download and print up. Okay, sure enough, there it is right there. We've got our chapter, student name, and then they can indicate whether or not they have found it in the text. One thing I will note, for neither of these resources, you're not going to grade this and put it into your grade book. You might work through it with the students or have them work on it as they go along, but it's not something that you're going to put in a grade book. These are all pre-reading setup resources and tools Later, you will come back to some kind of comprehension assessment techniques. These are specifically intended to help improve comprehension, which you will later test. I'm sorry to interrupt for just a moment. If this strategy helps you save time, teach more effectively, or lead your school, please subscribe to the channel for practical, no-fluff strategies for educators. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and share it with a colleague. On the other hand, if you're a principal or a PD lead looking to prepare your staff for the challenges and opportunities of AI, contact us to schedule customized interactive training grounded in what educators really need. And one more thing, please make sure to click our newsletter link in the description and get your free AI Starter Guide, plus monthly strategies, resources, and information for using AI to improve student achievement. Now, back to the video. Okay, so we've got a nice table there. We've got a nice outline and a place for students to mark off if they have found it in the text. Now, that's number 2. The third part is to start thinking about what do you want students to understand from the text, not just what's in it, but are there some things that we can have as takeaways or concepts or issues that we want students to get out of it. So what we're going to do is before the students read the text, we're going to give them those questions. They can then begin thinking about them while they're reading the text. It's going to create a mental framework for them, so as they read, they can start dropping information into that framework. So here then is our third prompt, and it's very simple. Give me 5 critical thinking questions about this chapter. You will let the students know that once the reading has been done, these are the questions you're coming back to, so they have an idea of what it is they should be looking for and thinking about while they're reading. So let's grab this one and let's see if we can get 5 good questions. Now, this is obviously for a 6th grade text. This can very easily be modified down to kindergarten, 1st grade, all the way up to some very advanced higher education level text. If the questions seem too hard, too abstract, or too simple, then what you're going to want to do is in the prompt, you're going to add something along the lines of appropriate for students at blank grade level. Questions about the chapter, make them appropriate for 2nd grade students or high school students or college level students. But here we're looking at 6th grade because that's what we said at the beginning. So here we've got 5 critical questions for the students to think about while they're reading. We will come back later and use them in small group or whole group discussion because, frankly, discussion is the #1 strategy for comprehension. But we want to let the students know here's what we're aiming for and here's what we're thinking about. So what am I going to do now that I've got all these? I've got my vocabulary list and my cloze test somewhere. There we go. After this, I'm going to copy it, drop it into a document. I've got my columns for organizing the information in the text, which is here. That's going to go on page 2. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then copy the critical thinking questions. We might even talk about them first, but I'm going to give them to the students before they start reading. And then from here, with these tools in place, they're well along the way for understanding the content that we are studying with them. And that will ultimately result in improved reading comprehension. When we're reading, that's what we're trying to help kids get to. And these are 3 quick resources generated by AI that will ultimately lead to improved comprehension. I hope you found this technique useful. Thank you.